My name is Richard Casper. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I teach the course here at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. This program started basically because after my injuries in war, I didn't know how to deal with myself. I came back, had a brain injury, my best friend was shot and killed. I didn't know myself at that point. Art has helped me by giving me a chance to have a voice again. I used to not be able to leave my house. I couldn't go talk to people. I would physically throw up and get sick. If you could be 0%, that's committing suicide, 100% being the best you can be. After the Marine Corps, after being injured, I was at probably like a 9 or a 10. And after this school, I was back to like 85% me. For people who may struggle like I did and didn't want to break out of the house and be like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, I just want them to know my story and be able to come out here and learn with other combat vets how to do art. And if they're looking for one more way, if they just come out here and give me a chance, it's going to be worth it.
What we were aiming for is to express what we were dealing with, when we were deployed and during our military career, where we literally get out of our element, go on this kind of like alternate reality to go back in time, think about what we went through, and express it to other people.
Just being exposed to different concepts of art, like at the museum and some of the contemporary art we saw, that's what influenced me to try doing a performance piece for my last project.
The opportunity to be at the school was just phenomenal. It was amazing. At lunch, we could go and wander the halls of the museums, and that was pretty awesome.
I think the hardest part was actually talking about what I've been through. It was easy talking to Richard because he is a combat veteran and he has been through stuff I've been through. And
my job was to, go find IEDs or find landmines or anti-personnel landmines and take them apart. And little did I know, I was putting that stuff inside me.
At first, it's a little hard to let yourself become vulnerable. You won't really know what to do right away. It takes a couple days. I know for me, it took a week.
Being surrounded by a bunch of veterans that know what combat feels like, knows the after effects of combat, knows how it feels to come home. It was really comfortable being here.
They're going to come to class like normal college students, treated like normal people that know how to be like, I can be in college, I am a normal person, and I could live like everybody else lives. If even one of them chose to go to college and study art and has that artist brain to where it saved them, it's totally worth it.
All right. How about that? You got me now. I know, right? Oh. Good now? Yay! Hey! Success! Look at that. It only took us like 8 minutes to get there. We're doing a good job, guys. Oh, thank you. Well, that's something, right? You can at least see me, huh? Okay, let me check and make sure that on the other scene that we're going to, that you guys can hear me when we actually start working on these face masks, okay? So hang in there with me while we have these problems. Okay, so when I'm on this scene, can you hear me? You guys still hear me now? Anything? You just can't see me. Perfect. That's good. That's good. You can hear YouTube? You can hear from YouTube. I got you. Okay. All right, I think we're good. If can't see through. If we're not good, tell me, right? Okay. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to try and get through several different ways to make a face mask. All right? I see you, Garrett. Thank you so much for helping me. I appreciate you. I really do. So first we're going to make like a no-sew version. So if you don't have a needle and thread, you can still make a face mask out of what you got. Then we're going to do a hand sewing one as quick as possible. And most of this is going to be me demonstrating the basics to get you through, but not facilitating the whole thing, right? Because if I sit here and hand sew a full face mask, we're not going to be able to get to any of the other versions. And then I've got my little sewing machine set up here, and we're going to sew an actual face mask. So what we don't have, and part of why I wanted to start here and talk to y'all first, is the N95 filter material. Okay? Excuse me. I'm sorry. So in order for a face mask to be effective against COVID-19, or any coronavirus for that matter, you need to have that filter material inside of it. So what we're making today obviously is out of household items that everybody's got, right? So your old military t-shirt, 550 cord, elastic, hair bands. I've got a whole bunch of stuff sitting over here you're going to see in a second. So we're going to leave a pocket in it. So if you do have filter material, you can slip it inside. If you can get your hands on it later, or you have a face mask that you want to put inside that, you can do that as well. What these face masks do protect you from, and if you purchase one online that's just made out of cotton material or whatever, is particulate matter, right? So heavy dust, it's not going to come through. Or somebody directly sneezing in your face, you sneezing, you coughing on someone, it's going to give you a block to stop that. Primarily what it's going to do is you're going to stop touching your face. So if you're in public, hopefully practicing social distancing, you're touching things all the time, right? COVID-19 stays alive for 72 hours on surfaces, according to the CDC. So any surface that you're touching, you want to be careful with. But you don't want to touch your face. And with a face mask, you're not directly touching your face. So that's how they protect you. They don't do anything more than that. So I'm not going to pretend that they do. And I don't want to give you guys false information. Any good information that you want on face masks, you're going to pick up from the WHO, World Health Organization, or the CDC, right? Anybody else talking to you may or may not know what they're talking about. So you need to go directly to the source to get some good information, okay? All right, so I'm going to move over here, and we're going to start working on these, okay? You guys excited? I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here. I'm just so grateful. Okay, we're going to scooch over there and let's get started. Look how fancy, guys. Okay, so I don't have, why is this camera not working? Lord, love a duck. We are going to have issues. So now my overhead doesn't want to work. There it is. Okay. Stream after stream, solid as a rock, and now this one's just going to be a train wreck. So, you know, it's just what it's going to look like today, guys. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so first off, if you want to make these along with me, there's a couple of things you guys can grab, okay? Like if you have a bandana, okay, just laying around. You have a couple of hair ties, hair bands that are elastic. One of these guys. Anybody got a shirt that looks like this? I look familiar? You're going to see me look over here because I'm trying to see you guys talk to me in chat, right? Because my monitors obviously are across the room. So a shirt like this, right? If you've got some 550 cord, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with that, right? Oh, thanks. If you've got cotton fabric, if you've got an old pillowcase, right? Any of this stuff. Any of this stuff is going to work for what we're doing today. If you want to be fancy, I mean, if we want to get really, really fancy, twist ties, right? Because a twist tie is going to give us a little piece of wire that's going to help us mold this to our face, right? So if you guys have got stuff like that laying around, floral wire works, any kind of little pieces of wire, right? If you've got something like that, grab it. I'm also going to make you a quick pattern. And I have literally just thrown this stuff on my table. I haven't ironed anything. As you can notice from this, I literally had this folded to tie around my head and I just untied it, okay? So I was going to take the time, get everything ironed, get everything pretty, have them all looking like this for you. But you don't have those at home, do you? You know, because if you did, there would be no point in us having this conversation now. So rather than do that, I wanted to, in real time, work this out with you all, right? So I'm going to start with, you don't have a needle and thread, you don't have a sewing machine. What can I do if I can't sew to make a face mask? All right. So I'm going to start with this little bandana. If you guys have trouble seeing anything or you have questions or whatever, you know, speak up. Because this is all of us doing this together. It's just not me, you know, lecturing you about face masks. Because who wants to hear that? I have a limited amount of knowledge. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fold this in. It's wrinkled. It's not perfect. Doesn't matter. We're going to fold it again, right? So now I've got it folded in thirds. And then I'm going to fold this partially down right here. Okay? Can you guys see that? It's only folded down maybe an inch from the top. So, I'll show you again real quick. Fold in to a third, about center. Doesn't have to be exact. Fold again. So we've got it folded in thirds, and then we're going to come down here like this. Right? You're going to take a hair tie, and I'm going to put it right over the end like this. See how I did that? I'm going to take my other hair tie. This is 2 different sizes of hair tie. One's bigger than the other. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So it looks like this, like a big piece of candy, right? Hey, thanks for the sparks. That's awesome, y'all. Okay? And then we're going to fold this in so that both of these come to the middle. And as I do that, I'm going to pull these hair ties out so that it kind of makes a fold on each side, right? So that they're on the edge. So make sure this is folded down how I like it. Make sure this is also folded down with that little edge there. I'm going to take this, open this up, and put this side inside of here. Y'all catch that? Everybody with me? And then, you know what happens next? I have a face mask. That's it. Super easy, right? Super easy. So, bandana's great because it's about 180 thread count. If you're using cotton fabric, same thing with pillowcases, right? You want a high thread count. The higher the thread count, the less it's going to come through this. We have a lot of layers here. Those layers are going to help you too. I will tell you, for people who wear glasses, this is going to steam up your glasses because your breath is going to come right out the top, right? So, part of the way to handle that, I'm just going to take this back apart. So I'm going to grab a twist tie, right? And I'm going to set it here. It's right underneath there. I'm going to fold this back down like I had it. Going to put these back on here. There is nothing holding this little twist tie in place, so it's going to move. This is not a perfect solution. This is a quick and dirty solution, right? I can keep this in my car. I can keep this in my bag. I can keep this handy wherever I'm at if I need it. If I need something quickly, this is going to work for me. So, for those of you wearing glasses, if you have a little piece of wire in here, you're gonna it just fell off my ear. I'm wearing a headband. Oh my goodness. I should have thought about how much I'm going to jack up my hair. You can push this down with that little zip tie, and it's going to hold closer to your nose so that it doesn't fog up your glasses. It's still going to do it a little bit, okay? Because like I said, this is a quick and dirty solution. This isn't perfection here, but it's effective. Yeah, great to keep in the car, right? Super easy. Not to mention, just for on a personal basis, having a bandana, a handkerchief, something like that, a couple of hair ties, has a million different uses, right? You need a quick bag to put some stuff in. You're tying 2 ends of this together, you're pulling these up, and you have a quick bag to carry something if you need to. So this is handy for multiple uses, but that's a real easy one, right? So that's number 1. Super easy. Number 2, let's say I don't have hair ties, right? But I've got 550 cord. Y'all give me a thumbs up if you have 550 cord at home. How many of y'all have that? Because I bet a ton of you have 550 cord, right? We probably have 10 bracelets that are made out of 550 cord, the little emergency bracelets. I've got a couple that have little compasses on them, a lot of them with the big plastic clips. We've got a couple from Afghanistan that have guys buttons from their uniforms on them. Hey Brownie, thanks for joining us. So like we've got tons of this around the house. So 550 cord with a no-sew option, right? Same bandana. And I'm not going to cut this 550 cord because we're going to use it again in a second. Same bandana. If I have this folded in half now instead of thirds, right? And lay this 550 cord across here. Gonna lay another bit of it across here. I'm early, I'm sorry. Hang on, doing it too quick. I'm gonna fold this in thirds this way. So I fold it in half, fold it in thirds, right? Lay my 550 cord across it. Bring this up here. Bring this up here. And then I'm gonna tie this to my face. So it's gonna tie behind your head, right? Same concept. And you're just gonna tie bows in the back of your head with both of these cords. So this is a good option. One, if you don't have hair ties. Hair ties are great. Or you don't have any kind of elastic. Because you probably already have 550 cord or you've got one of those bracelets. Yeah, super easy. Just using a bandana. Using a cut-up pillowcase. Cut a pillowcase in a 12 by 12 square and you can do this exact thing. That's what a bandana's shape is. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. Okay? So this is a good option if A, you wear glasses. Okay? Having these around your ears, just like with the headband, not going to be comfortable long term. If you've been wearing a face mask for a number of days and you have this type of elastic or a flat elastic like this, I don't know how well you guys can see that. Can you see that elastic? Right? It's going to make the backs of your ears raw. Like it's going to make them irritated because you're not used to it. And that's a really sensitive part of your body. So for people who wear glasses, if you're wearing safety goggles for some reason or anything like that, you've got a helmet on, you've got a headband on, anything going on in your head, this option is probably going to be better for you because those straps are going to go right around here and it's not going to hurt your ears. So this may also be a good option for children or young adults. Never put a face mask on a baby. Ever, ever. Okay? Wearing a face mask does build up CO2. You as an adult with fully formed lungs and teenagers they're not going to get CO2 poisoning from that. An infant will. So never put a, hey, thanks for the embers. So never put a face mask on an infant. It's just not safe. And again, you can check with your local government website. You can check Board of Health, all kinds of stuff to make sure that that information is accurate. Don't trust me. You don't know me. But that's where I'm getting it from. So, all right. So there's our no-sew options. We have questions? Anybody? We liking it? I'm going quick because I'm trying to fit in too much all at once. So if I want to hand sew a mask, right? Look, sparks. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing great. This is fabulous. If I want to hand sew a mask, I got a cough. I want to make a pattern, right? I mean, obviously you guys can see that I have this here. I can just lay fabric on it and cut it because I've got all my little numbers here and it makes it easy. You may not have that option. So I have a couple of sheets of 12 by 12 paper here. And if I want to make a pattern, I want it to be 16 inches long by 8.5 wide, right? So that's going to make a face mask that's about this size by the time it's finished. That's awful. Do I have like less of a pattern that'll look better? That looks a little better. So these masks are pleated. These are sewn with a sewing machine. But with the hand sewing option, we want to do just about the same pattern. The nice thing about the pleated masks is that they expand, right? So you get, let me use this one. You get a better fit to your face, and they cover more area. Like this. It's all the way down to my chin if I want it to be. And again, it's got a little wire in it, so I can shape it around my nose. Can you see that? So I don't have as much air coming up here. I can also wear this just like it is. And it's just as effective either way. It's about personal comfort, right? So this, the pattern, 12 by 8.5 inches, is going to end up making this size face mask. So this will fit an adult. It's a little big for a child, so you're going to have to come in a little bit, right? The best way to figure out for a child is head size, right? So if you have a grown adult, this is going to fit anywhere from like, 6 to 10 hat size. I mean, you could have a giant head and this will still fit you. Child, it's going to be about an inch shorter, and that's going to fit down to about a 3 or 4 head. I'm talking about hat size, right? Like ball caps. So you only have to take about an inch off of it. But basically, that's our shape, okay? So let me grab a tape measure, because everybody's probably got one of those, right? Got a tape measure, got an ink pen, and some paper. So, like I said, it's 12 inches. We're going to mark this at 8.5. Going to mark it again at 8.5. Mark it again at 8.5. Going to do the same thing on this one. And I understand I'm not using fancy tools here today. Not trying to be fancy, not trying to use anything that I think you don't have. Because I actually want this to be useful to you, right? So, well, like for instance, I have this. Y'all probably don't have that, do you? So we're not using that. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to take the other side of the piece of paper. We're going to line this up to our marks and make a straight line. This does not have to be exact. We are making something that functions, right? That you need like immediately, and not something that's fancy. We're not worried about fancy right now. Hey, thanks for the host. Right? We can worry about fancy later. Right now we need stuff to function. And once you make these, if you want to go back and make something that's more comfortable for you, change up your pattern a little bit, anything like that. Once you figure out how to do it, hey, thanks for the host. It becomes much easier. Right? Because you got to practice a little bit, just like everything else. While you're all in here too, while I'm making this pattern real quick, so I am going to be streaming with CreatiVets every Thursday. My time is Eastern, so I'll just put out Eastern, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. And what I'd like to do with this stream is kind of meet your needs as you have them, right? So if you guys have ideas, if you're like, hey, Mrs., we'd really like you to see this. Hey, is it possible that you could do this? Or you've got any ideas like that, I want to hear them, right? You can go to CreatiVets Discord, put those ideas in there. You can send them to me. I have a Discord, and you can just look up Mrs. OEF5. I stream on Mixer as well. So 12-inch paper, we're going to cut this piece 6 inches. So we get 18, right? But yeah, I want to hear those ideas. So I think next week, right now anyway, my thought is that we will do some little keychains. I don't know how many of y'all were in the Navy or have heard anything about the SEALs and what they call box breathing, but it's a 4-4-4 technique used to help calm down, right? It's used as a coping skill. There's also something called diaphragmatic breathing. That is a 4-7-8 technique. And I wanted to make little keychains, maybe little bracelets as well, that have a series of beads on them. So if you get triggered, you have some anxiety, your heart rate starts accelerating a little bit, you get real angry, whatever's going on with you, you can use that as a physical mechanism to start working on your breathing. So I thought we'd do that next week, same time on Thursday. And then after that, you guys can kind of tell me what you want to do, right? So that's my thought for my little piece of this stream. I thought that would be cool. And it might be helpful. I know as we all go through this, kind of being stuck apart and stuck together for some of us. You know, being able to cope and get some coping skills that help us is always a good thing, right? Whatever gets us through. So I'm just taping these two pieces of paper together. And there's nothing special about this paper. It's scrapbook paper, so it's 12 by 12, but you can use any paper you want. It's just a paper pattern. Right? Nothing special about it. I'm losing my mic. There we go. All right. It's not perfectly straight. See it? Not worried about it. We do not need this to be perfect. So, I'm going to take this t-shirt. Like I said, this probably looks familiar to a lot of you, right? So, old one. This one is probably from, I don't know, 06, 08 maybe. It's an old one. Nice thing about this material, I don't know if you know this about your all's t-shirts, but they have a very high thread count and they're flame retardant. So I'm going to lay this out, right? I can cut it this way on the shirt. I'm just going to cut through one light of fabric. And if I come right up here on this seam, well, it's not a seam, it's a fold, but if I come right up here on this, then I can probably get a couple more out of here, right? So if you want to make several of them, you're going to mark this out, lay this next to it, mark this out, bring it over here, see if you can get a third one out of it, and then you'll get 2, 4, 5 out of a single t-shirt, right? But for us today, because I'm not going to make multiples, I'm just going to make one. I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to cut it out of the bottom of the fabric. I need this to kind of be flat so that when I draw on it, because I'm just going to draw on it in a regular ballpoint pen. If you have a fabric marker or a chalk marker, I would recommend that. But like I said, we're using stuff everybody's got, right? So I'm going to bring this right here. And again, you'll notice, sure, it's not perfectly even. Doesn't matter. We're not worried about all those details. You could use a Sharpie marker for this. You can use whatever you want. You just want to mark it out so that you can see where you need to cut. Now, by doing it down here, what I can do, because I'm going to cut the whole end of this t-shirt off, if I don't have 550 cord, if I don't have elastic of any kind or anything else, if all I have is a t-shirt, right? Make sure I can see that on all the sides. I can use this bottom hem of this t-shirt for my tie straps to go around the back of my head. So if all I have in the world is a t-shirt and I need a face mask, I need a pair of scissors, and a rough guesstimate as to what 18 inches by 8.5 is. This t-shirt size is extra large. So if you look at it, probably hard to see on camera, it goes from here to here, right? And it goes from here to here. So, see how big the t-shirt is? If I come up to the top of the t-shirt, right, we're about 1/3 of the length of the t-shirt. So, if I'm in the car and I have nothing other than a t-shirt, I can guesstimate, okay, I'm going to cut the front off of this t-shirt here to here. I'm about 2 inches off the side. I'm going to cut it about 1/3, and I'm going to give myself a good inch from the bottom so that I can make ties, right? All right. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to start cutting. And again, we are not going for perfect, we're going for functional. This is a down and dirty kind of deal, right? So it doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters that it works. And the nice thing about this is that anyone, a child, anybody, regardless of talent, can easily do this. So there's our face mask. Got lint on this. This thing's probably been washed 1,000 times. Here's what we're going to use for our face mask, right? I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to continue to cut this and cut off the entire bottom of this t-shirt. So, before I started this stream, I looked at a kid's size t-shirt, 5T. You can make a full face mask out of that size t-shirt as well, right? And have plenty of leftover for your cord. So let me get this out of our way so we can see what's going on here. So here's the base of our face mask. Here's our cord. I'm going to take that cord, get about half, right? And now I've got 2 of them. This is going to get folded in half this way. Try and get the wrinkles out of it. So now I've got it longwise, if you guys can see that. Got it longwise, right? And folded over in half this way. Gonna lay this across the top. Gonna lay this across here. If you have N95 filter material, if you have a filter or another face mask or something that you're trying to cover with this, you can put it inside these two layers right here. And you're going to fold this up. And we're going to do the thirds again, right? So same concept that we used before. I'm going to fold this in thirds and put it right on my face. So that's it. You're going to tie that on the back, right? Tie it top, tie it bottom. Super quick. If you want to safety pin it, you can, right? If you have a needle and thread at this point, we can take a needle, we can thread it, you can stitch right along here so that these two pieces are sewn together, right? Stitch along here, stitch along here. If you want a nose piece in this, I don't want to lose that needle. I will stab myself. If you want to put a nose piece in this, you're going to open this up, put this right here so it's right above where this tie is. Fold this back down so that that wire is right on your fold. You see where that's at? Helps if I fold it, right? And then you've got a nose piece. Whether you sew it or not, this will still stay in a t-shirt. So if you do have 550 cord, you're going to run it through here, right? If you do have elastic, you can run it right through there. Same way. If you want to hand sew this and you don't want tying straps, you just want straps that are going to easily go over your ears, then it's going to look a little bit different. Do we have questions? Or is everybody with me? We all following along? Are you scrambling to get your t-shirts and cut them up right now? Husbands and wives are like, no, I like that t-shirt. Don't do that one. So, if we're going to sew this, hand sew it or machine sew it, what we want to do is we're going to sew right along here. Right along here. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's with me. We're going to sew right along here. If you have hair ties, right, or elastic that you want to use, we're going to pin those. Well, first off, you're going to cut these hair ties. So you want to cut them in half, right? We're going to open this up. We're going to put this hair tie just like this. I lied. It's going to go just like this. And this one over here. Okay? And again, we're working with thirds. So you want it about a third down, a third up. Right? Fairly centered and facing towards the inside. Then we're going to fold this right back over the top. If you have pins, we're going to pin it so that those stay in place because they will roll, right? want to pin right through the center of that hair tie and then through both pieces of fabric. So we're going to get those in place. Want to make sure that it's out here to the edge so that I can see that I can sew through it. Right, so we got that all pinned up. Then you're going to hand sew this with a needle and thread. Just loop it through all the way around, right? If later on you want to add N95 filter material or any other kind of filter to the inside of this, with this pattern, it should be a flat piece of fabric. It should be a flat filter and not already a preformed one. But you can leave a pocket right here where you don't sew it at all. Right, so if you leave that pocket here, when we're done with this, with pleating it and everything, you can slide that filter inside of it once it's finished, and then take a filter out of it, replace it if you want, which makes this a little more utilitarian long term. And these will be machine washable by the end of it, right? It's a nice thing about these t-shirts, you can wash them over and over and over and over again, and they last forever. So if we're doing this on the machine, we're going to sew this up. We're going to leave a pocket there, so I'm only going to sew from here to here. And then we're going to flip it inside out. So hopefully this machine will not be super loud for you all. If it is, I'll go ahead and mute my mic for a second. Just tell me. It's not an overly loud machine, but so I've never used OBS before in this way. I'm not sure how it's going to respond. And since we've had issues already, we're probably going to continue to have them. All right, let me pull my machine over here so you guys can watch what I'm doing. I'm going to start on, let's see where you're at. I'm going to start on this corner, right, where the fold is. And I'm sewing in black thread so that hopefully you all can see what it looks like as I go through it. Just going to make sure that these little twist ties are where they need to be. And we're going to rethread this machine because that just popped right out of there. And I'm going to put my glasses on to do it because I can't see that. So I'm sewing this with a pretty small margin. On the machine, I've got the foot lined up to where it's just on the edge of the fabric because I don't want to take up too much. Okay. is apparently going to be a problem. It's just not going to sew this. So, my sewing machine would like to eat this. It would have been great if it had chosen to do this earlier when I tested this out, but you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen live. Is what it is. All right, we're going to try this one more time. This machine's not going to take this t-shirt material. I will sit here and hand sew this for you. Because it shouldn't have a problem with it, but apparently right now it's having some kind of issue. And it legit will not go back on. What the heck? All right. One more try. Nope. All right. Oh my gosh, that sounds awful. Okay. What in the holy heck? Oh, I swear. There's going to be problems. See if we can run through this. Thanks so much. Yeah, we're not going to be able to run through cotton either. Yeah, this is not going to happen now. That's okay. That's okay, because there's more than one way to do this, which is always good. So 2 hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, I was sitting here with the sewing machine, running this through like it was butter, right? Let me show y'all what I made. Where is it at? I can't even see where it's at. I must have taken it in the other room. I made a little face mask with no elastic on it. as a test run to make sure everything was going to go smooth for the stream. Oh, yeah, we're gonna call that sewing machine dead. We're gonna give up on that idea. It's not gonna fly right now. Thanks for the embers, though. I appreciate it. That's great. All right. Let me grab this gray fabric, or gray thread. I'm gonna thread this needle real quick and we're gonna hand sew this. I did not. Look at the macaroon. That's too cute. Love it. Thanks for the sparks. I am so glad that CreatiVets can do embers now. That makes me happy. So I know that everything y'all donate is gonna help them out, so that you guys can get more programs, more stuff going on. I mean, not only stuff like this, but stuff much better than this. It's amazing. If you haven't been to their website, creativevets.org, please go check it out. The amount of work that they do to help veterans tell their stories, to heal. They do it all through art and music, through different experiences. And it really gives people a different outlook on, you know, on their story, on how to tell their story, on how to communicate what they've been through or what they're feeling. It's a really, really great thing. It's incredibly helpful. And it's helpful to know that people have had a similar story to yours, right? I mean, so many times we think we're the only ones that feel a certain way, or we're the only ones that have ever had an experience like what we're going through. And then we meet somebody and we're like, wow, you know, your story may not be the same, but man, is it similar, right? And that's a cool thing. It's a really, really cool thing. So as I'm sewing this, more sparks, thanks. Because this is t-shirt material, because it's elastic, it's not elastic, it's stretchy, I'm gonna loop this around the side, right? So instead of just sewing in and out this way, like the sewing machine does, I'm gonna sew in through the back, out through the front, and my thread's gonna make this really nice loop right here. And it's gonna gather this fabric a little bit as I go and pinch it together, so that when it stretches, I'm not gonna get as many gaps. You're still gonna get them, but it won't be as obvious. It will look a little bit gathered on the edges, but it's not a bad thing. And then hopefully you guys can see those stitches there. Am I too far out? I can zoom in. This overhead looks really blurry to me. I'm not sure how it looks to you all. Might look a little clearer on stream than what I'm seeing, but see if we can get you zoomed in here. I actually think it's this mat that's messing up my camera. I don't think it can focus on it. Like, that's really trippy looking to me. Yeah. Be lucky I'm just doing it over my hands. Because, you know, Outlaw, my husband, wanted this extreme close-up camera on my face, and I argued against that for obvious reasons. I don't think I'm comfortable with that. I think I'd rather it be on what I'm working on instead. So, since we can't use the sewing machine, this is going to take me quite a bit longer. We're not going to go long though. So, we've got an hour to watch me sew. So tell me, how many of you guys sew already or have sewn ever? Anybody? Ever made anything out of your old army t-shirts? Or your old whatever military t-shirts? One of my daughters saved all of her college t-shirts to make a quilt out of eventually. So of course they're stored here in my house. Because, you know, that's how that works. But someday she'll get to it. Yeah, you get a sewing kit. Do you still have a sewing kit? You have a needle and thread? Not a bad thing to have. I have one that I picked up from a hotel like forever ago in the glove box of my car. And it's literally got a needle, a little roll of thread in it. I think it's got a tiny like metal thing that you can thread needles with. Oh, nice. That's really cool. That's really cool to make a flag out of them. So as I go through, you should know this bit. I'm going to stretch out this thread, right, because we want to give it some room. And I'm to my first hair tie. So I'm just going to pick up the fabric on the outside of the hair tie, like I'm not going to go all the way through the center of it. Just going to come here. And then instead of coming through the back to the front, I'm going to come from the same side I just came from, through the center of the hair tie to make sure I pick up that elastic in the center as well as the, I don't know what it is, fabric coating. And then again, I'm going to come through back to front on the other side of where that elastic is. So I'm just picking up that coating. And then I'm going to come through center again. I'm going to do this 3 times. I do not want this bit to come loose. All of your pressure in this design is hanging on your ears, right? The camera's off. Oh, it's because I'm like on this extreme close-up, so you can't see it. Okay, I'm going to show you again. So we come through the first side, right? And we're going to pick up maybe a third. Can you see the elastic inside that hair tie? Barely. So I'm going to pick up that fabric, and then my needle is going to come out the front. I'm going to go back in, front to back through the center of the elastic, and then back to front, so back and forth like this, right? All the way around it, and I'm going to do that 3 times. So right now I'm on the front. I'm going to come through the center of that elastic again. To the back. This is my 3rd pass, right? And then I'm going to hook just the fabric. So I'm on the edge of the hair tie, just on the fabric. Here, come around to the other side and just get the fabric on the other side of it. I'm going to pull this really tight. I'm going to do the same thing on the back so that this fabric is looping all the way around that sewn on hair tie. And then I'm going to come back around the front and continue sewing as I was doing before. Right? So when you look at it, it's got several stitches here. There are all told 6 of them. So when you look at it, there's like layers of thread on top of this, but I need it to be braced and I need it to stay there because this is the part that's most likely to tear. So when you're doing it on the machine, which I won't be demonstrating, you're gonna run over that twice with the sewing machine. So as I'm sewing along with the sewing machine, I'm going to come over it, I'm going to go backwards, and then I'm going to go forward over that hair tie, right? Just to make sure that that's really braced. Because we don't want it coming apart at the ear because it completely defeats the purpose. So then we're going to keep sewing this straight till we get up here, and I'm going to do the same thing with this other hair tie on this side. My stitches are probably 1/16 of an inch apart, maybe. 1 tick on a tape measure. That's probably how far apart they are. So I'm keeping them fairly tight. So your buddy makes flags out of his camis. Does he like cut them into strips to make the stripes? How does he do the stars? Or does he just use like the different ones, like desert and jungle and that kind of stuff? Because that would be kind of cool. Then you could sew like generations of them. Yeah, so as I was saying before, our sewing kit has just a little loop of thread in it, a needle, little thing to thread your needle, which I've never used. One thing I would recommend if you're gonna put together like a little miniature sewing kit is my thread's twisted there, I'm sorry. Is to put it into like a matchbook or something that's easy. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. All right, so we're about to do this hair tie again, so you guys should be able to see, or another one of them anyway. So I'm going to come here real close to the hair tie, but I'm not catching it yet, right? So one more stitch this way. And then instead of stitching like I'm doing where I go front and then back and then front and then back, I'm going to stitch front and then through the front again to the back. I'm going to catch the side of this hair tie and my 2 layers of fabric. Then from back to front, I'm going to come through the hair tie, both layers of fabric. Then front to back, I'm going to catch the fabric on the other side. And then I'm going to do this again. It's like I said, we want this to be nice and stable. Another way to look at this is like I'm just stitching 3 stitches across and 3 stitches back and 3 stitches across. If you want to look at it that way, it's the same thing. And when I've got that as stable as I want it, I'm going to come over here to the side of the hair tie, not catch the hair tie, then loop over to the other side of the hair tie, and then come back over one more time so that I've got a full circle of thread holding that into the fabric. Hopefully you can see that better this time. So it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to continue with these little loop stitches that I've been doing right along here until we get to the top. Hey, what's up? This is Outlaw. You may notice his name is similar to mine. Oh, thanks for the sparks. I appreciate you. This is my husband, y'all. He is medically retired from the Army. Overseas in Afghanistan, 0405. And this is his t-shirt that I cut up today. So thanks for that, Outlaw. And there's Minnie OEF5. She would be one of our daughters. I bet you didn't think we were going to have like a whole family affair going on, right? Surprise! Thank you for your shirt sacrifice, right? We've had a great stream so far. We had mic issues, we had camera issues, I broke the sewing machine. I'm doing great. We're killing it. Oh, I love you too, Outlaw. I'm gonna get all my oh, scissors. Oh, that's cute. I'm gonna get all my technical difficulties out of my way for a stream so we don't ever have to have these problems again, right? Oh yeah, it's been quite the ride. But we're okay. All right, so we've stitched this whole side. I can pull these pins out that are holding that in place. And now we're at a corner, right? So for your corners, you can just sew it normal if you want. We've been going since 4, so an hour and 18 minutes in. I recommend that you make an X in a corner, okay? Because when we turn this right side out, we want this corner not to poke out with fabric. So I'm going to sew from the same side that my thread's coming out of, right? So straight through here, right to the corner. And then I'm going to come back to front and make an X or cross, or however you want to see that, okay? And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to continue to stitch my little loops just like I did all the way around the corner. It's just going to give you a little bit more stability. And again, those are points that are weak, right? So as we're making this, if you want it to last a little while, you're going to want to make all those weak points strong. Our weak points are going to be corners. Our weak points are going to be where that elastic is in there. And then it's also going to be at the point of where we pleat this, right? When I showed you these before, they were pleated. These little pockets that move so they fit your face. So at the point of all these pleats right here, where they're sewn together, that's another weak point that can come apart, so we're going to want to reinforce those. And we're just going to keep sewing right around this other side. But again, we're going to leave a pocket here, right? So we talked about if we can find some N45, and I'm saying N like Norman, right? Norma, Nebraska, however you want to see that. We're going to leave a hole here that we're not going to sew up because we want to have access to be able to put that filter in there. Yes, November works. I like to get the letters wrong. It's not nice, I know. So we're almost done with this. When we are, we're going to knot off this thread. We're going to rethread our needle, and we're going to start at that other corner and do it again. I don't know if you can hear the cat, but he's attempting to break down the door to get in here right now. He's kind of obnoxious. We call him Beta the streamer cat because I've never had a stream that he hasn't showed up on. He's a little bit attention seeking. But you know, he's a cat, so. All right, so to stop sewing, I'm going to twist this thread around my needle in a spiral about 4 or 5 times. I'm going to hold on to that spiral of thread between my thumb and index finger, pull the needle through, I'm going to pull it till I can't pull it anymore. It's going to make a really ugly knot. But it's not going to come loose. All right, Outlaw, take care. You guys be careful. And then we're going to rethread our needle, start on the other side and start sewing it. Yeah, it's snowing where he's at right now. We had a little frost this morning where I'm at, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It was like 65 here this afternoon. I got no complaints. If it were 70 degrees year round, I would probably be just as happy as I could be. But I'll take 65 right now and be happy. I could definitely live without snow. I can tell you that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to talking about this sewing kit. Outlaw interrupted us. Wow, okay, that's a lot. So needle and thread. You can just slide into a, little matchbox if you want, or a little thing like this, Altoids box, whatever you've got laying around, right? So needle, thread, couple safety pins. It's good. If you don't have, if you don't carry a knife or a Hesco or Gerber that has scissors on it, a little pair of collapsible scissors will fit in an Altoid box. A couple of straight pins, good to have. Not absolutely necessary. Safety pins are more apt to be used, right, on a regular basis. Couple of hair ties. These little twist ties come in handy for all kinds of different stuff. Doesn't have to be hair ties, it can be rubber bands. The problem with rubber bands is that they dry rot really fast, right? These little fabric covered hair ties seem to last a lot longer. Or just regular elastic that's fabric covered. That lasts a lot longer too. And a couple of buttons. That's what I would recommend for a sewing kit. Right? What are you actually going to need? Another thing that's good to throw in there that's little is a little key ring, right? The loop key rings, not with anything on it, just the standard key ring. Because you can take one of those key rings, if you break the button off of your pants, hook it through the top of your zipper, or if your zipper breaks, and then hook it onto the button of your pants. If you lose your button, you have one in your sewing kit, you can sew a button on there, the zipper's broken, you can use that to hold your pants up. And those little key rings come in handy for all kinds of different stuff. So that would be my recommendation, right? And I don't know that you need much more than that for an emergency kit. I mean, if you've got specific needs because of where you're located, then take that into consideration. Like for instance, if you're on the water a lot, having a float in there or a little foam thing that attaches to your key rings might be important to you. Having patches, like a waterproof patch or patch glue. If you're camping or you are on the water or you're using a raft or anything like that, that you may need a patch. Having a little piece of that waterproof fabric and patch glue may be important if you use an air mattress a lot, right? So stuff like that. I mean, you can pick up like a little travel sewing kit probably at the dollar store or any, you know, fabric store or anything else. I'm sure you could probably order one online right now. But when I'm putting together stuff like that for myself, I tend to think about, you know, where am I? What am I going to be using this for? When's the last time I had a problem that this would have been handy, right? And then I put those items in there. So like those patches for like an air mattress or whatever, if you're traveling. If this is something you're going to keep in your bag or your car or whatever, those are handy if you're using an air mattress on a regular basis or if you're on the water. Having one of those little foam floats that goes on a key ring might be handy to have in there. And I would put it in the sewing kit because if I needed to attach that to something, right, those hair ties might come in handy. That key ring might come in handy to attach that to something to make sure that if I drop it in the water, I don't lose it. So stuff like that is good to think about with a little kit like this. The nice thing about it is they're small enough you can just throw it in your glove box. You can go in the pocket of a bag, laptop bag, whatever, purse. And you don't have to worry about it. They don't weigh anything if you've got to carry them around for a while. But it's one of those things that you don't really know that you need it until you don't have it. And then you wish you did. So we're coming up the other side of this. We're almost to that first part of the hair tie. And we're going to treat it just like we did on the other side, right? We're going to sew across both sides, sew through the middle, do it a couple of times, and then loop all around it so I can make sure it's nice and stable. Excuse me. All right. So this hair tie, appreciably smaller than the other one, right? But that's okay, we're going to treat it exactly the same. So I'm going to come on one side of it, come through the center of it, come on the other side of it, and do it again. Do that a couple times, make sure this is nice and secure. I'm gonna take that pin out and we're gonna keep going. Just all over the place, isn't it? I'm sewing backwards from what I normally do so that I can show you guys. So normally I have the fabric, this side of the fabric facing me, so it's awkward. But I wanted you to be able to see it. But that's okay. And we're almost up here. We're almost getting done, guys. We're doing good. So far, we've spent 20 minutes sewing this up. Which is not too bad. But it takes appreciably longer than it takes to make one without sewing it. Right? This is the longest way to do this, by the way. Sewing it with a sewing machine takes about, start to finish, 8 minutes. Which is why I was going to show you that first before we got into this, but here we are. So, it's okay. We were going to get here anyway. So our last piece of hair tie right here. We're going to get that nice and secure, just like we did the other ones. And then we're going to come around this corner, put another X in it so that it's reinforced. And then we're going to turn this right side out, put our pleats in it, and we'll have a face mask. So we're pretty close, guys. All right. So we're almost to the corner. And you're going to notice My fabric on the top stops here. My fabric back here stops here, right? So as we have sewn it, or as I cut it, I got it crooked, which is fine. Because again, we're looking for utility, not perfection. So I'm going to come up here, and when I go to sew it together, I'm going to ignore where that longer piece is. I come up here to my corner and do this little reinforcing X, the same X I did on the other side, right? Making sure that I'm grabbing both pieces of this fabric. I'm going to come back over here, keep sewing just like I did. And when I turn this corner, I come through the back, grabbing this piece of fabric. And this is going to, see how it folds over? It's going to just keep rolling as I go because I'm coming in lower on this back, right? So that my thread is coming through the top of the other piece. And it's going to roll this all the way down because it's just extra fabric, which makes this seam a little thicker. It's not really going to matter. Won't change how this face mask fits us. Won't change how well it works. So I'm not really worried about it. Couple more stitches and we're going to tie a knot in this, flip this inside out. I'm going to show you how to pleat it real quick because we are almost out of time. So, doing the knot, right? Come through this side, spiral this around the needle 4 or 5 times, hold it between my index finger and thumb, pull that thread all the way through, tighten it up. To make my ugly but effective knot. We're going to flip this right side out. And you're going to start to see how we have a face mask. There are 2 hair ties there, right? So if I want to, right now as it is, I can fold this down, fold this up, put it on my face, and I'm done. I can wear it just like that. If I want to, real quick, put what we call slip stitches, meaning I'm going to run the needle and thread through this corner and run it through this corner just to make sure this holds and doesn't move on me. I can do that and still get that filter material inside there in the hole, right? And if I want, I can fold this back on itself, fold it in the center of the hair ties back on itself. And then I've got those pleats. So that, and this piece right here, where this hole is, that needs to be on top, right? Because I don't want to put filter material in it and have it fall out the bottom. It defeats the purpose. So it needs to be on top. So if you want to pleat this, right, get it pleated like this, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to slip stitch it, meaning I'm going to knot my thread. I'm going to come through at the point that this touches this, stitch it, this touches this, stitch it, this touches this, stitch it, and I'm just going to loop it around 3 or 4 times at each one of these points. And then it's going to be done, because when this is finished, let me pin those together so I can show you how that works. Because we're cutting it close here. So if I had time to stitch this, this is what it would look like, right? So is there anybody in here right now who missed how to make a mask without sewing it, that wants to see it real quick before we have to leave? Because I can demonstrate that in like 3-4 minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. On exactly how to make a mask without sewing. So if anybody needs to see that, let me know before we go, and I'll show you that real quick, okay? All right. So if I sew this up at each one of those points, right? Then we've got those pleats. And we have a mask. We have a mask that smells very much like my husband. So if you want to do this with 550 cord, you're just going to roll it straight out. Give yourself enough room to tie it behind your head, right? I recommend about 18 inches for each piece, and you need 2 pieces, one to go here, one to go here. You're just going to let them string out, and then when you put this on, you tie it back behind your head at the top and at the base of your head. It is better to not have ear holders for people who wear glasses. If you've got any kind of protective headgear on at all, anything like that that's going to get in your way, a visor, a hat. If your ears have become raw or hurt because you've been wearing a face mask, having one that ties behind your head works out much better, right? So there we go. There's our face masks. So to reiterate from beginning of stream, right, I could have used part of this, the bottom part, the seam of this t-shirt for ties that can go around my head. And again, cut 2 of those. That's just the entire bottom round of the t-shirt cut in half. So that makes 2 ties. Could have used just a bandana and hair ties for no sew. Could have used a pillowcase. Could have used cotton fabric. We want the highest thread count possible, right? Because it's going to do you the best. And in all of the versions that we made today, there's a pocket so that you can put that filter material in there. But if you don't have that filter material, this mask is still going to help protect you from heavy particulates, stop you from coughing or sneezing on somebody else. So that's helpful. So anyway, this was fun, guys. I mean, you know, train wreck and all, right? I'm gonna scooch back over here. All right. So, we have got, like, I know that CreatiVets has quite the schedule, so you can see it there. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped. You can go to creativevets.org/live to look at the schedule. This is what's coming up next. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is that lockdown workout with Luke Pell. And then after that at 11 a.m. Central, both these are Central Time, there's mixed media painting with Garrett. And then I will be back with CreatiVets next Thursday, 4 to 6. And I think we're going to work on diaphragmatic breathing and box breathing. If you were ever in the Navy, you're familiar with that term. And making keychains that help remind us of those breathing techniques. And we'll go through a couple of those. Really, really great coping mechanism. It's a great way to handle triggers, anxiety. Some people with depression use them. Heavily used throughout people who have PTSD or other issues of that nature. Because what happens when you actively breathe in a particular pattern, you increase oxygen to the brain, helps you become more objective, helps you become more clear in your thought process. So instead of triggering and reacting, you're actually able to think through some things. So we'll work on making those little keychains that'll help with that. And then I'm going to look to you all, right? So you guys tell me what you want to make, what you want to talk about, and we'll do that, right? And if I can't do it, I'll tell you I don't know how to do it. But we'll get to know each other, and you guys will figure out what all I'm capable of doing, and then we'll work together and do something really cool, right? So super excited to be part of CreatiVets. If you can support them, please do. If you're a veteran and want to participate, please do. It's nothing but good things. Nothing but good things. So thanks so much for joining me tonight in my first stream, and for putting up with all my little hiccups as we went through it. I appreciate you guys giving me the latitude. I really do. So I'm gonna get ready to get off of here, and I will see you next week. I'll probably see you in chat because I can't get enough of CreatiVets. So I've been popping up in everybody's little streams. So I'll probably see you in there, and I'll talk to y'all then, okay? So good to see you. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate you.
We are a nonprofit that's helping combat disabled veterans heal through the arts and music. Our art programs in Chicago and California help combat disabled veterans tell their story through art. We enroll them into the best art institutes in the country. We pay for their tuition, their housing, their food all 3 weeks so that they can finally tell their story through art. We also bring combat disabled veterans to Nashville, to places and rooms like this here at the Grand Ole Opry, to tell their story for the first time with pro songwriters all about the things that they went through that they never been able to talk about before. These programs have been extremely successful in helping veterans combat their PTSD. Right now, CreatiVets has more veterans applying for our programs than we do funding. So if you can go to creativevets.org and donate, we would appreciate it.